I was a young boy when my baby brother Matthew died. My family didn't have the benefit of any hospice care services, and outside of church family, I don't think they had much support at all. That's him and me on the YouTube thumbnail, and I'll post some pictures on the my Facebook page. My brother was born with some severe health issues that made for a very poor prognosis for his life. The hospital, in fact, offered to just keep him until he died, but my parents chose to bring him home and take care of them themselves. And I was excited to have this baby brother into the home, and I didn't understand a terminal diagnosis. I didn't know what was wrong with him. All I knew was that I had a baby brother. And I was very excited. And there's pictures of me holding him on my lap, me showing him how to play and feeding him. And it was kind of the center of the world of my family. And I enjoyed having a baby brother. And then as days and months passed, he got sicker and sicker. And while my attachment grew to him, then it came to the point where he finally passed away. And I didn't know it. I just woke up one day and he was gone. And I asked my parents, well, where's Matthew? And they said, well, he went to go visit Jesus. And I thought, well, hopefully he'll come back soon because I want to see my brother. And they had a real hard time talking to me about the passing of my brother. And in fact, they didn't let me go to his funeral, and they never took me to his grave. And all that I knew in my little young mind was that my brother was off with Jesus somewhere, and hopefully he would come back soon. And then several years after that happened, I knew something was wrong, and he didn't come back, and he didn't come back. And yet it didn't really sink in until a friend of mine said, you know, your brother died. And by that time, I understood more about what death was. And it was shocking to me. And I talked to my parents about it, and they didn't really know what to say other than to say, yes, he died and he's with Jesus. And it took me until I was in my 20s really to process that loss of my brother. And it wasn't my parents' fault. It was the reality that so often we don't have the resources when we are around somebody dying or experiencing death in the family to really help people process. We don't often have the support or the sounding board to figure out what to do and how to approach things with children, with other relatives. We don't know how to bring resolution. We don't know how to bring closure. And some of you will say, well, you're a Christian. You should just understand what the Bible says and all those kinds of things. And I will say yes. You know, my Christian faith says that my brother Matthew's soul is with Jesus and that his physical body died, but his soul lives on, that thing that makes him who he was and is, and that I know the Christian scriptures and the promises that Jesus is going to return and raise the dead bodies and reunite souls. And I understand all that teaching, and those spiritual truths are important and valuable to me. And I can find great hope in them. But even then, for years, there still was this sense of loss that I had a brother who died. And in retrospect, losing my brother actually, I think, really helped contribute to me being bent in the direction of working as a hospice nurse, to have empathy and care and understand that there's no easy answers and that death is a very hard thing. And a death of a child is especially hard, but even when it's expected with an aging parent, it still is, it can be just overwhelming to people with that sense of loss, and just having faith and belief and trust about the future and about a person's soul living on after their body is gone and has died. All that is great comfort and great hope. And yet at the same time, there is often loss that can't be expressed in words. There is grief. There is all sorts of challenges. And that really is what I find as I think about my brother and his passing, is that there's so much that was wrapped up in that and so little that my family knew to do to deal and process with that great loss. But I do commend them for this. They took my brother home and they loved him and cared for him and did not leave him to die alone in a hospital in some pediatric care or NICU unit. So I am glad that they did that, and I was glad to have those months of knowing him. So that's a good thing. And yet at the same time, there is a sense that the loss continues. This is Chris for Pastor Chris R.N. Please share your stories in the comments below and help others learn and grow from your own experience. Thank you.